Hey everybody. Today I want to talk about books that I think everybody who's going back to the land, going off the grid, and maybe even prepping, I think should have. I think they're necessities to read and to have on hand. First, going to start with the first one I started with was the Back to Basics book. It's a really good book. It tells a little bit about everything, pretty much. Let's open it up. Talks about finding land, building different types of house, from log cabins to building with adobe, timber frame building, using brick, cutting firewood, different types of wood stoves. I mean, it's just a great overall book for people who are just learning about being off the grid. Cooking, different ways of cooking, how to preserve food, root cellar, basics about, different types of livestock and animals to have on the farm. Overall, I think just a good beginner's book. If you already have been homesteading, learning, you know pretty much the basics, then this really probably isn't a book for you, because it is pretty much the basics. So that was the first one I started with. And then the next, I think, whether you have been homesteading all your life or just getting into it, I think this is a great read. It's the Foxfire series. They were out of print for quite a while, but they are back in print. You can find them on Amazon.com. There's 12 books to the series. The first one is called the Foxfire book, because when they came out with this book series, they thought it was just going to be this one book. But it became such a hit that they printed more books. And there's a series of 12. Then they have the Foxfire 40th edition, which is pretty much excerpts out of each and every book. Not my favorite. And then if you have kids and you like to make toys or do woodworking stuff, that's a good book. But basically, what the Foxfire series is, it was high school students that went into the Appalachian Mountains and talked to old people who had, lived truly the simple life. And it's just really one of my favorite books to go back and read. Every book covers different things. This one's about hog dressing, log cabin building, mountain crafts foods, planting by the sign, snake lore, hunting tales, faith healing, and moonshine. And then every book has little parts in it to where it tells stories about the people in the books. So it's just a really fun series to read. Like I said, each book is different. What they cover. Number 4 is mostly has spring houses, horse trading, gardening. And then number 5, blacksmithing, and just every book's different. So you got 1 through 12, then the 40th edition, and then the toys and games. I think I looked at that once when I thought about making toys for my nieces and nephews, but they're too busy with their iPods, so didn't fool with it. Let's see. Then another good book, if you're thinking about building a small off-grid cabin, is this book, Compact Cabins. It's a good book to read. Has different floor plans about simple living in 1,000 square feet or less. It's a good reference book. And then also, another good books to look at is, I want to get in front of the camera here, are Stories Guidebooks. These books here are really good. If you start raising or getting a certain type of livestock, get one of these books on that, livestock. Like we had when we first got sheep, we got this book. And the reason being, it's like a quick reference book. If something, if an animal gets down sick, you can look in here, look at the symptoms, and figure out what's wrong with them. And then it tells how to treat the animals, on the farm, or if you need to call a vet. And then, it tells all the different breeds, and then explains what they're good for. So it's just really, these are really good books. So if you're going to get llamas, get the Stories Guide. Raising llamas, dairy goats, chickens, beef cattle, horses, turkeys, rabbits, pigs. I mean, they pretty much have them all. So these are really good reference books. And then, like I said, they have them on horses, everything else. So those are really good books to look into if you're going to be raising livestock. Then some other good books to read. This one here is not a reference book of any kind, but it's good inspiration. It's called One Man's Wilderness. It's about a man named Richard Prenneke, who at the age, I think, was 52 years old. Can't remember exactly which, haven't read it in a long time. Went to the Alaska wilderness, built a cabin all by hand, and just did it amazing. You know, he lived out there for over 30 years, if I remember right. But it's a great book for inspiration. This book is basically his journal from a year of living by himself in the wilderness. Then another good book, I think, to read for inspiration is this one. I found this one at an antique shop. I don't know how easy it is to find, but it's called Three Against the Wilderness. And it's about a family who lived in the Canadian wilderness. And it's probably not the most family-friendly book. If your children are going to be reading it, then I'd suggest reading it first and going out through a whiteout marker. But true story. I think it was written during the Great Depression and World War II. I believe, if I remember right, their son was in the Canadian Army during World War II. Now I want to move on to magazines. These aren't really books, but magazines. We've all heard of Mother Earth News, and personally, I don't like Mother Earth News anymore. They've become too ad-filled. I mean, they just have ads. That's basically all it is anymore, and they were bad about it before, in their old ones, but their newer ones are written so, I kind of hate to say it, but with more of a liberal mindset. They've gotten really kind of political. But I think their older magazines are great. If you can go on eBay and find their back issues, those are the ones to read, I think. They're a lot more informative. Another magazine I like is Countryside. It's a good book. It's a magazine. Most of it's in black and white pictures. Has how-to stuff, stories about people, what their experiences are. Living a more self-sufficient off-grid life. Let's see. And then another is, that's the same one. Oops. Another one is The New Pioneer. It's a relatively new magazine. This was their premiere issue from 2010, so 3 years in the making. And I'm really pleased with their magazines. I think they're pretty good. They cover a lot of how-to stuff. It's kind of what I think Mother Earth News was when it started. Now the only thing I don't like about this magazine is they don't have a subscription form yet. So you have to go to TSC, I've seen these for sale at Tractor Supply Company, Walmart, and anywhere where there's a bunch of these type of magazines, with Mother Earth News, Countryside. So look into that. I think they're really good. And then another one, it may seem a little extreme to some of you, but Survivalist Magazine. They're actually, I like it because they cover, it's not a bunch of, go get beans, bullets, and Band-Aids type extreme thinking, but just good, thought out ideas of certain ways to do things. There's one article in here. I don't even know if it was this one. Yeah, building your own generator. I mean, just, some stuff where you more, instead of, go out and buy this tool and do this, it's how to make do with what you have, kind of thing, MacGyver type thinking. So, building your own wind generator in this article. So I think just overall a good magazine, personally. Has some really good articles about what's going on in the world. And then you're thinking about going back to land and going to true back to basics horse farming, these are two magazines I really encourage you to read. It's Rural Heritage. Talks about working with horses, and they have ads in them, a lot of ads actually, but it's for stuff that's really hard to find, when working with horses, equipment. I think it's a good magazine, for looking for resources, where to get equipment, harness, that sort of stuff. And then this Small Farmer's Journal, I like it. A friend of mine, his family gave me a bunch of these when we bought our team of horses, but it talks a lot about, and it's a big magazine. Oops. Talks a lot about horse farming is what mostly it's about. But it's really informative. They show a lot of how-to stuff and a lot of stories. Mostly black and white pictures, but that's okay. Right past it. Just a lot of information in these. I've done lost it now, but showing collar size, for your horses. So those are just some books I think are good to read. And then anything, if there's a certain craft that you're wanting to learn from the homestead, then get a book. Get a book about it. Like when I first started blacksmithing, I started getting, these type of books. So just go online. Knowledge is the best thing you can. That's the cheapest form of knowledge you can get is in books and YouTube. I'm not down in YouTube videos, but you need to have a hard copy to where you can take this book. Take like this one right here. Say you have a sick horse. You need a hard copy where you can go out and reference and look and follow step by step and figure out what's going on. You just can't do that with YouTube videos. YouTube videos are great for learning, getting an idea of what you're doing, I think, but a book is the best thing you can have. So those are just the ones I think that people should have, and start if they're thinking about going off the grid and living self-sufficient. Those are the ones I would highly recommend going and finding. Then another good one, almost missed it. I'll go over my coffee. Be a mess. Is this one here. Technology Fails. It has a lot of stuff that if you're going off the grid that you will do, more likely anyways, like preserving food or cooking, basically making do with more simple technology. It has first aid in it. Making biofuel. Again, another still. Seems to be a big thing, still making. I don't know. But anyways, just thought I'd share it with y'all, and hope y'all have a great day.